Buddhism is a well-known religion that is practiced all over the world. Roughly 300 million people are Buddhist. According to BuddhaNet.net, Buddhism goes beyond religion and is more of a philosophy or way of life. The following slides will touch on how this religion views sin, salvation, and the afterlife.
Not to do any evil, to cultivate good, to purify one's heart, this is the teaching of all the Buddhas. Buddhism and sin. The idea of sin has no place in Buddhism. Also, sin should not be equated to suffering. The basic general beliefs in Buddhism reveal that there are no commandments, only tools that are used for those needing guidance. The Dhammapada. The Dhammapada is one of the canonical books of the Buddhists that describe the teachings of Buddhism and its perspective on sin. The book explains the fact that Buddhists believe that a person's actions should be seen as an act that was not done in sin, but in naivety. Verse 117 of the Dhammapada is, "Do no evil again and again." It states, "If one some evil does, then do it not again and again. Do not wish for it anew, for evil grows to dukkha." The explanation is that it's okay for someone to do some evil things, but not to keep doing the same evil things over and over again. He should not take delight in it because the accumulation of pain is evil. Will karma come back around? To the Buddhists, sin is an unskillful or unwholesome action that is called akusala karma, which creates papa, also is known as the downfall of man. The downfall of man is the downfall of oneself. Only the sin that one commits comes back to the fool who committed it. This concept is called karma. Verse 125 of the Dhammapada is, "Wrong done to others returns to doer." This says, "Who offends the inoffensive, the innocent, and blameless one, upon that fool does evil fall as fine dust flung against the wind." The explanation of this is that if someone is rude towards a person who has no flaws, then the sinful act will return to the evildoer. It is very much like the fine dust thrown against the wind. The dust will return to the thrower. Verse 126 of the Dhammapada is, "Those who pass away." Some find birth within a womb, evildoer, quicken in hell, good fares, to the heavens go, the unpolluted, holy cool. Regarding only the second line, this means that after death, evildoers will be reborn in hell. And the third line means that those who have been virtuous when they were alive go to heaven when they die, since they possess no features of corruption and give up their mortal lives completely. However, hell may result for a person in such a way that they might return as an animal or non-human in their rebirthing cycle if they were an evildoer. Who has the power to purify the soul? A Buddhist does not think that he can gain purity merely by seeking a refuge in Buddha or by the mere faith in him. It is not within the power of a Buddha to wash away the impurities of others. The liberation of self is a responsibility of one's own self. Only through self-realization of one's foolish acts one will attain enlightenment and happiness by choosing not to engage in those unskillful acts. Most important rules in Buddhism. Although no commandments exist, it is still important for one to obtain a good moral conduct in Buddhism. In Buddhism, the most important rules are the 5 precepts. In order to obtain a good conduct standing in Buddhism, one should practice these every day with every opportunity to do so. These precepts are characterized not as commandments, but as general guidelines for how doing good deeds will give you the best results for someone in the long run, rather than if they had done evil deeds or held evil thoughts. These precepts have been passed down from the Buddha himself. The 5 precepts, the do's and the don'ts. The don'ts of the 5 precepts are: no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, or no intoxicants. The do's of the 5 precepts are respect for life, respect for others' property, respect for our pure nature, respect for honesty, and respect for a clear mind.
Salvation is the umbrella to get into nirvana. Nirvana is a place of perfect peace and happiness like heaven. In Buddhism, nirvana is the highest state that someone can attain, a state of enlightenment, meaning a person's individual desires and suffering go away. In order to get into nirvana, you must follow the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. The Four Noble Truths are knowing that there is suffering. Everyone suffers. For example, when we are born, sick, old, and at death. Cause of suffering. We cause our own sufferings. End of suffering. And stop repeating what causes the suffering. Path to end suffering. Everyone can be enlightened and have salvation. Other ways we can suffer are being around others that we dislike, being far away from our loved ones, not getting what we desire, and many other disappointments and problems that are unavoidable. Our selected text is following the Buddha's footsteps. In Chapter 2 it states, the Buddha did not deny that there is happiness in life, but he pointed out it does not last forever. Eventually everybody meets some kind of suffering. He said, there is happiness in life, happiness in friendship, happiness of a family, happiness in a healthy body and mind, but when one loses them, there is suffering. For the Noble Eightfold Path, there are 8 guidelines. First, right understanding. This is to accept the Four Noble Truths: existence of suffering, cause of suffering, end of suffering, and the ending of pain. Second, right resolve, which is to give up bodily pleasures and make lifestyle changes to care for all living creatures and have positive thoughts. Third, right speech. This requirement means that one cannot lie, curse, gossip, or speak negatively. Fourth, right action is to have good behavior, for example, do not kill, have unlawful sex, or steal. Fifth, right occupation. This means hold an occupation that would not allow harm to anybody. Six, right effort. Keep the mind clear of negative or bad thoughts. One must eliminate evil and negativity from their lives. Seventh, right contemplation. This path expresses the importance of self-realization. One must fully be aware of their actions and deeds. This way, one can feel the correct emotions like sorrow and desire. Eighth, right meditation. One must train to focus on a particular object without distraction. This will develop a calm sensation that is a learned skill in concentration. Please notice the picture to the right of the screen. This is the symbol used for the Noble Eightfold Path. Each spoke of the wheel represents the paths and the significance of its circular wheel. The circle shows how all the paths move into one another and are connected to form a well-rounded life. When one gets into nirvana, they become a Buddha. The attainment of nirvana is constant with noble emotions and with action for the good of the community. In conclusion, the Noble Eightfold Path serves as a guideline to live one's life by. If these paths are followed, access to nirvana will be granted.
Now I'll discuss the elements of Buddhist afterlife. Buddhists actually believe in a cyclical afterlife called the samsara. That is, there is an indefinite, impermanent, and continuous cycle of death and rebirth, and it only stops once a being has reached nirvana in the human realm. Nirvana is a state of letting go of individual identity and desires and differs from other religious ideas of heaven because it requires the complete dissolution of self. Also, Buddhists do not believe in an immortal soul, but rather just a state of being. So what determines where one goes after death? Buddhists believe heavily in the idea of karma, that is, the accumulation of one's past actions, positive and negative, will result in the spirit being reborn into a certain realm. There's 31 different sub-realms split into 3 main realms of existence: the immaterial world, the fine material world, and the sensual world. The immaterial world contains 4 sub-realms that are accessible to those who find themselves in an advanced state of meditation. Within the immaterial world are the form and formless realms, both of which require this advanced meditation and only differ by the formless realm renouncing any attachment to internal pleasures. This world is possessed entirely of the mind and consists of no physical beings. The fine material world consists of 16 realms whose beings contain some degree of mental pleasure. They have some level of deep meditation but still contain ill will. The immaterial and fine material worlds make up the heavens. Lastly, there is the sensuous world. This world consists of 11 sub-realms, and I will speak more on the last 5. The highest of the 5 is the human realm, the one we all live in right now. This realm is special since here you can experience both pleasure and suffering. The karma from previous lives, though, is dragged with us and we are given whatever circumstances because of that. The fourth realm is the Asura, a spiritual state of demigods, but not as pleasurable as the heavens mentioned above. They are consumed with jealousy of the gods in the heavens. The third realm is the hungry ghost, a spiritual realm of those who have committed a lot of evil deeds and are unable to receive any food or drink, and because so, are tortured for their entire stay in this realm. The second to last realm is the realm of animals, where the inhabitants are those who have done serious harm to animals or other evil acts, but depending on how evil determines what kind of animal you come back as. Us humans can see those in this realm. Lastly, and making up the worst of all realms, is hell. This is much like you'd imagine hell, a constant state of pain and torture in an infinite amount of time. There are many things you can do to get yourself into one of these realms, but to land yourself in the 4 worst realms is to commit any of the 10 unwholesome actions, mainly the 5 precepts, as mentioned in our book, Following the Buddha's Footsteps. The first of the precepts is to have a general respect for life and not kill. Second, have a respect for others' property and don't steal. Third, respect our pure nature and don't commit any sexual misconduct. Fourth, respect honesty and don't lie. Last of the 5 precepts is to respect a clear mind and don't be involved with intoxicants. Other misconducts include malicious and harsh speaking towards others, gossip, covetous mentality, ill will and hatred, and distorted views of things. As you can see, there are many forms that a spirit can take after death, all depending on your karma from actions within your life. The cycle can continue forever and can only be stopped once nirvana is reached within this human realm.
Now that the 3 main areas that define religion have been touched upon, we can summarize that Buddhism is a religion that engulfs a way of life. Anyone can practice and worship Buddhism. Buddhanet.net claims the Buddha asked all of his followers not to take his word as true, but rather to test the teachings for themselves. Each person decides for themselves and takes responsibility for their own actions and understanding. There are guidelines that are recommended to be followed, but being a morally good person is what this practice is all about.